podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
So, Paul, how are you doing? Do you have a glass jaw?
Yeah, I do. Phil Bardsley could definitely knock me out. I'm confident of that. I think I might have the reach on him, but everything else, he's got a serious edge. Yeah, that was the stupidest news story in the history of news stories, wasn't it?
I'm not sure it was the stupidest, but it wasn't a good news story.
It's pretty stupid. Man has some fun with friend. News at 11. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, you do get it because it sells papers, because it was, a stupid story to put on the front page of The Sun.
But, how is it... I get that if something had happened, but they were having a bit of a lark about, and Rooney carried on larking about. I'm not sure Phil Bardsley actually knocked out Wayne Rooney,
Yeah, but still, there you go. The tabloids for you.
What is this world, twisted?
Yes, apparently so, yeah, although Van Gaal's words, of course, about it. And, he was actually very sensible, Van Gaal, in kind of dismissing it as a non-story. But, so in one sense, great. In another sense, he's a man who doesn't quite get the British press yet. So he's going to have to work out either how to go to full-scale war with them, like Fergie did, and try and manipulate them into taking his viewpoint, or he's going to have to kind of learn some of the nuances of... our darling media here.
But, I mean, do you think he has to learn those nuances, or do you think he should continue to just do what he's doing because actually playing the game with them is just going to be distracting kind of thing?
Depends what he wants to achieve.
Right.
So if he wants to achieve good press, less pressure, and on him from the supporters via the media, then yeah, he plays the game a little bit. If he just doesn't care and his skin is thick enough, then fine, he can say whatever he wants. But the problem is when managers say that they don't care, they do care, because when they rail against the press or start having a rant in a press conference or showing pieces of paper with data about long balls on it, then it shows that they've been caught up in it a little bit and lost some focus. So anyway, my advice to him, not that I work in this world or have done for a very long time, would be to, the media world days, would be to play a little bit of a game with them, be charming, and he'll get all the good copy and headlines he wants, and they'll ignore the stupid stories, maybe, I'd have laughed it off.
At Stu_1512, with the early Rantcast question, says, aren't you a little disappointed in Wayne Rooney, brackets more so than normal, I mean? Would have thought he could handle a scrap better. Phil Bardsley's tough, though, isn't he? I would not like to fight Phil Bardsley.
He's a brawler, Phil Bardsley. Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, it's just a bit of horseplay, of course, but took one on the chin. His guard wasn't up, you see. That's the problem. Reflexes are slow. We've been saying his first touch isn't very good. Bardsley did it with a jab. Wasn't even a proper punch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Rooney was just mucking about.
Yes.
That's my theory, as evidenced by his spectacular execution on his dive on the pitch. He really committed to that. That's try that sometime. Well, don't actually. Make sure you've got a good clear run behind you, because you could bump your head on something. But to close your eyes and fall backwards, he kind of slightly bottled out of going full Del Boy Trotter style. But it was a good solid fall, and the vines have done him proud.
That's right. Points for style taken off for the bend at the hips. So slight mental chickening out of doing the full tree falling in the woods routine, but not bad.
The thing is, though, I give him back those points, because if he'd injured his back falling backwards, that would have been a bit annoying.
Indeed.
So should we talk about the actual football?
There was actual football, and it was actually quite good, at least for the first half. It calmed down a little in the second half, of course, and to be expected, I suppose. United 3-0 up after 34 minutes.
Yeah, I had a little brief word on the second half. I've seen a lot of people say, oh yeah, we played well first half, but I actually think we played brilliantly in the second half, because we took no risks without putting ourselves under tons and tons of pressure, and we were 3-0 up, so it's not like we let them create loads of chances as we have been known to do when we defend with our backs to the wall, but we were really, really sensible in protecting that lead. I thought that was actually a really, really effective and sensible and well executed second half.
Yeah, I suppose so, although a mega win would certainly have paid to Tottenham's chances, you'd think, of making the top four. Not that they're really... Well, they are competition for the top four, but that's certainly put a nice cushion between United and Spurs now. It would... we've got some very tough games coming up, of course, and this was, a very good first half and a pretty decent second half amid a whole run of games that weren't nearly as good at all. So I wouldn't want to extrapolate from a 3-0 win versus a very poor Tottenham side to saying we're going to beat Liverpool and City and Chelsea and Arsenal, who United all have to play. So it could definitely still go wrong for United, but in a very good position now, just 2 points behind City in second place, point behind Arsenal. It's still very tight for fourth place, but United put themselves in a very good position.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about this in the preview for the Liverpool game, but the season is far from over. That's not a season-defining win, but it would have been a season-defining loss. So it's a huge result for United, but we're in a position where we need a few huge results on the bounce to make it count. But I mean, it was a superb. We talked about the reaction after the Arsenal game, and that was one heck of a reaction. As you say, it was only one game, but I do wonder how much we actually just made Spurs look bad. Like, our game plan worked extremely effectively against their game plan, and all the things that we expected them to present a threat, like Mason and Bentaleb in central midfield. I think both of us were concerned that United's midfield would be somewhat overrun by them, but we just absolutely taught them a footballing lesson. The midfield three of Fellaini, Carrick and Herrera doing the job incredibly effectively, set up in a series of triangles, as Martin Keown was at length to point out on Match of the Day 2 in England. Carrick was sat deep, Herrera on the right of him, ahead of him, Fellaini on the left of him, ahead of him, and out a little bit further out from them, Mata on Herrera's side, basically holding hands with him. They were so close for most of that. And Young on the left-hand side, and great support, particularly on the left from Daley Blind, who I was terrified when I saw Blind against Townsend. I thought that looks like a matchup that we're going to really suffer for. But in the end, Blind didn't have to do a great deal of defending and did a lot of attacking very well indeed. Yeah,
well, a couple of points in there. One about midfield, one about Daley Blind. So midfield, United's triangle of Carrick, Herrera and Fellaini in particular, very, very good in the middle, and Bentaleb and particularly Mason had very poor games. So Mason left his runners all the time, started in the 9th minute when Fellaini of all people burst past him. And when Fellaini's looking quick, you're not doing too well. So Mason's had a very good season. He's a young player who, it's really his first season in the Premier League. He's had quite a few loans before now, and he's done really well in an attacking sense. And I think a lot of Spurs fans would say that that's his strength. Tracking runners going behind him, not his strength. And Fellaini in particular exploited it really well, starting on the left of that 5, I suppose, Young outside of him. Actually, if you look at the heat maps, Young and Fellaini got a very similar pattern, much as Herrera and Mata have a very similar pattern on the right. So you can see that kind of balance there, which I have to say before the game I was somewhat surprised at. But United managed to exploit all of that. And then on Blind, his big problem is his lack of pace. I keep saying it every week, but it's just really obvious. So when he's sat in central midfield, people go past him. He's not quick enough to react to it. And left back, you'd say put a quick winger on him and he'd be in some real trouble. But Townsend barely got the ball at all. I mean, he touched the ball 10 times, Townsend. And a lot of that was the fact that United had the ball in very good positions in midfield. Didn't hog possession, as they have done in some games, but stopped the supply to him, certainly.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I saw the possession stats after the game. Your mind plays tricks on you a little bit when United seemed so dominant, but given our recent patterns of play, I think by the end of the game, 51-49 by the whatever method it is that Who Scored use, which I was quite surprised about.
It's Opta and it's just number of touches. So there are two ways to do it: either actual time on the ball, or just number of touches and average it out. And it actually turns out that number of touches and averaging it out is very, very accurate anyway.
Yeah. So it's interesting, all that stuff. I do find all the data fascinating. One of the key data points I think that really shows the difference in the two teams' performances was the number of chances created. I believe Tottenham had 3 registered key passes, which is a pass that...
Yeah. They created 5 chances, had 1 on target, and United 11 and 3 on target. So which says 2 things. One, in other circumstances where the finishing wasn't so good, and it was very, very good from United in terms of those 3 goals, it might have been a different result. So United have been very profligate in some games this season. Weren't quite so, at least took those 3 chances. But, still create chances with playing 5 across the midfield. And 11 shots, many more positions better than that. And I'd say some of those 11 were good chances too.
Yeah, I mean, so Fellaini's goal, I did spend quite a lot of the last Rantcast talking about how I'd quite like never to see Fellaini in the United shirt again. So you're welcome, everybody. But he took his chance absolutely beautifully. And it's not necessarily something you associate with Fellaini, bursting through to latch onto a through ball and smack it in the opposite corner with his left foot, but he executed brilliantly on that, and his celebration pointed at his shirt on his back and then did the old chest badge tap. Fellaini, Manchester United, linked inexorably for the rest of our lives. So yeah, there were some people that are very happy about that. I think that this kind of performance is likely to be a bit of an aberration rather than the pattern of Fellaini's United career, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, look, in truth, for a player who was kind of in a key position in the team, he didn't actually get the ball very often. So, but he's not there. He's just not there to be the number 10 that is the creator. If you want that, you move Mata inside. And you play someone else on the right wing in that game. So Van Gaal at the moment does not want a number 10 who's the principal creator. And this is one of the reasons, why we keep talking about it on this show, because the style of play that United has is very, very different from typical Van Gaal sides. He's being super pragmatic. This is not about his philosophy, whatever that is. It's about pragmatically trying to pick up points right at the moment, and it's all wrapped up in Fellaini in many ways, I think. So he didn't get the ball that much. He's not the type of player who's going to run a game. He doesn't change the tempo of a game. He is very, very one-paced in terms of both, his actual speed and his use of the ball, but he creates impact, and that's what he's in the team for. And that's the positive thing. And, in the fact that he's actually creating impact, you can say his performances are much, much better for United. So an assist and a goal against Spurs, and also created another fantastic chance for Rooney near the end of the game, didn't he, which Rooney kind of fluffed. That's the positive bit. The negative bit is it just encourages United to play long. And sometimes that's very effective, that long diagonal ball out to the left, where Fellaini is sort of coming in field. Sometimes it's totally not effective, especially when we have a couple of guys in central defence who are not great passers of the ball.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different points in there. The first thing to say, though, is that Fellaini wasn't playing at 10 for United in this game any more than Herrera was playing at 10. They were both playing as the more advanced midfielders, weren't they, on their respective flanks. It was very much a 4-3-3 rather than any kind of, or what you could call it a 4-5-1 or whatever, but it was a very specific, a 4-1-4-1 is probably maybe the best definition of it, with a deep lying midfielder and then 4 attacking midfielders across the width of the pitch. Interesting note on that, Mata, who, I'd have, if it's a choice between Fellaini and Mata, I wrote an article about this on Bleach Report and broke down all the different statistical contributions and all that kind of stuff, because Mata's just light years ahead of Fellaini in terms of chances created and impact in terms of goals and assists per minute on the pitch and all that malarkey. I don't know if that's still true after Tottenham, I'm sure it is though. But Mata was excellent playing wide right of a 4-3-3, which is very different to the kind of Moyes position of just making him like right of a 4-4-2, because he had Herrera to work off the whole time, and they were supported well by Valencia.
I agree. He can't run a game from there. I mean, there's only one player I've ever seen who could run a game from the wing as the team's principal playmaker, and that was Zidane, right? And Mata's a very good player, but he's not in that class, so he can't run the game from there. But he had a very good game, and he's not being asked to try and put crosses in all the time, and that's the key difference.
One thing that I thought was interesting was he essentially did Angel Di Maria's job slightly better than Angel Di Maria's been doing it. You don't associate Mata with pace, but there was a couple of points where he really injected pace into the game. I mean, you do associate him with injecting pace in terms of his use of the ball, right? But there was a couple of moments where he just skipped into action and took the ball on to dribble, and that was really effective, and we just looked very, very dynamic all across the front. And more praise for Rooney, whose goal, very fortunate in the way he ended up with the ball, but and maybe a little fortunate with the bounce of the ball, but superb, absolute vintage Wayne Rooney goal.
Totally vintage Wayne Rooney goal. A vintage Wayne Rooney performance, nearly. So I thought he was actually very dynamic. And, surprise, surprise, he's playing at number 9 and he's loads better straight away. Right, and some of this really makes me frustrated because aren't there so many obvious things that Van Gaal is slowly getting right? The switch away from 3 at the back took forever, and I don't think we'll see it again this season now.
I'd bet my house on it.
Yeah, God, it would if he suddenly pulls out 3-5-2 against Liverpool, I will do my nutting.
There was a moment when I saw the team sheet and I was trying to puzzle it out. It could have been 3 at the back in that game, but it wasn't. It could have been
Blint playing 3 at the back. For a moment, I was thinking that it was Young at left back. It turned out it was Blint and Young ahead of him. But slowly things are being fixed. And Rooney at number 9 is definitely one of those things that has to be fixed. If he's got any contribution to make to the United side, it has to be there because he's a very average number 8 and not much better as a number 10. So let's get him in his position where he can cause some damage. And he still can. He's gifted the pass for his goal, but he took the rest beautifully, gave the keeper the eyes and tucked it in the corner, and he was pretty dynamic. He took up lots of different positions on the pitch and it allowed the other players to play around him, And that's all great. And this formation will work for United if the other players can do that. And I think it would work for United even better if you put another player in rather than Fellaini, Di Maria or Januzaj, because it would just allow United to play quick passing, high tempo football. And I hope that's where we'll go in the end and Fellaini will be phased out once this era of pragmatism is over.
Yeah, I hope so too. And the way he's managed Fellaini has been quite sort of loyal. Fellaini has been brought in and asked to do a job, and when he's done that job well, Van Gaal's kept him in the team for a bit. It happened in the middle of the season for a little while, and it's happened in the last few weeks as well. So, certainly I'd expect to see Fellaini play against Liverpool. It'll be very interesting to see if Di Maria plays against Liverpool. We'll come on to that. That Tottenham game, it could have all been so different, because I just watched the first half again today, the Monday as we record this, and the first 5 minutes were a complete calamity. There was Phil Jones, before he did the back pass thing, he got the ball and just basically fell over and very nearly gave the ball away to the Tottenham player, but then also had to do a wild challenge to stop that happening, which could easily have either got him injured or got him sent off for injuring the Tottenham player. And then seconds later, he decides to absolutely hammer his back pass at De Gea. A rough start for Jonesy.
It was, yeah. Fine save with his legs from De Gea. Isn't this another frustrating part of the season? So Phil Jones, who I've banged on about for quite some time, has the potential to be anything he wants to be in the central defender. He's got all the tools and he's just not putting it together, and it feels like he's gone backwards, and I'm afraid too many of his performances have been very average, and it's very hard to defend it. It doesn't feel like he has matured at all in the last 5 years, right? Or 4 years that he's been at United, and that's really frustrating because the tool set is there. But, it didn't cost United in the end, and actually had a pretty comfortable afternoon, that sort of calamitous pass early in the game aside.
Yeah, absolutely. Ashley Young with another very decent, serviceable performance, and the ovation that Juan Mata got when he left the pitch was a beautiful sight to behold, and he shouted that out in his blog when he also referenced the paintings in gunpowder of a Chinese artist whose name escapes me for the moment. Juan Mata's blog is... I make no apologies for my positive feelings about Juan Mata's blog. I know it's not cool to like Juan Mata's blog. If you're going to be cool and cynical and anti-hipster or whatever, anti-hipster, then yeah, it's no good. But it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside when I read it. So there you go.
Anti-hipster. You watch too much American TV, mate.
I do. I have been watching the terrible American television series Burn Notice.
Oh dear.
It's so bad.
We all have our guilty pleasures.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't got any that are as bad as that, though. I guarantee it. Although we like to digress on this show. I've been watching a truly awful Amazon series about pirates, which is basically very cheesy and full of lesbians. So if you like violence and lesbians and violence with lesbians, it's for you. And pirates.
What's it called?
Black Sails.
Okay.
terrible.
Right, don't watch that.
But a lot of naked women.
Don't watch these terrible television programmes, people. There's good ones out there. Watch some good stuff. Watch The Wire. The Wire's good, right?
Yes, watch United versus Tottenham.
Yeah.
First 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It was really good and exciting. And we kind of, there was a real lads, it's Tottenham feel to that. Apparently Wayne Rooney held a team meeting as captain on Saturday night and delivered a rousing speech. And I like to imagine he just went, lads, it's Tottenham. But, hey la, it's Tottenham. But anyway, who knows what he actually said.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably something about stealing hubcaps.
Look, just because we're playing Liverpool, it's no excuse to go full crazed scouse baiter.
Yeah, not really following your point there, mate. Anyway, so look, Tottenham 3-0. It was Tottenham, and United did dispatch them, and it leaves the Reds in a decent position coming into Liverpool, then Villa, but then it's City, Chelsea, a couple of other no marks. I think Palace and Newcastle, and then Arsenal just before the end. West Brom. Do we finish with West Brom?
We've played Newcastle twice, definitely. Already.
Okay, not Newcastle then. So someone else. 9 games to go. And it's still going to be really super, super tight. But I guess if you're a betting man, you'd say that it's going to be tough for Tottenham and Southampton now. And Liverpool will depend very much on the result tonight as we speak. Liverpool playing Swansea City.
Yeah, and then it becomes about the clash between us and them. And again, it's very similar to the Tottenham game in that it can't make our season, but it can break it. It's a game that losing would be a real disaster. I think somewhat unlike the Tottenham game, a draw isn't quite such a disastrous result away at Liverpool, not just because it's a tougher fixture, but because, that makes them drop points too, as it were. Whereas with Tottenham, a draw would have brought Liverpool right back into it. And it is looking increasingly like it's going to be a straight fight between us and Liverpool for that fourth spot, unless City continue to completely collapse.
Well, yeah, you say that, but yeah, of course, United only 2 points behind City now and just a point behind Arsenal. So, and this is Arsenal's traditional season.
You said that last week.
But yeah, I did say that. I know, but somehow they always qualify as well.
But yeah, I think it's their traditional blow-up season when they're having a good season, or it's their traditional point to go on a run when they're having a bad season. So it's one or the other. And
So which one are they having this time around?
This time around, they were having a terrible season, and now they're on a run and are going to comfortably qualify for the Champions League. That's clearly what's happening, isn't it?
Of course, United actually only 8 points behind Chelsea.
Who are wobbling. We're going to win the league again. We're going to win the league again.
Chelsea do have a game in hand. So,
let's not hope too much. Maybe not.
Hope it kills you.
Somebody said, I've seen a lot of people, I can't remember who this was, somebody said this on Twitter, they've seen a lot of people saying, if we win every game between now and the end of the season, we're definitely going to finish at least second. It's if we win all 38 next season, I think we're going to win the league as well. We're probably not going to win every game between now and the end of the season, are we?
I would say it's very unlikely. Do you want to have a bet on how many points United will get? I was tallying it up, actually, where I think the results will come from. And I think United will finish with about 70 to 72 points, is my guess.
Okay, and based on your calculation, is that enough for us to... I guess the last time we talked about this, I think was 2 Rantcasts ago, and we talked about United being about 50-50. I think the stats have got United... the stats that had United about 50-50 have now got United sort of pushing up towards 60% to qualify. After that game. Where are you putting it at the moment, percentage-wise?
Sounds about right to me. 60-40, yeah. I was going to look up some of the data, but haven't got it to hand. But quite a few good analytics engines out there if you search around. There are quite a few people who try and work out the probabilities. But with 9 games to go, 1 game either way changes it completely. So I think 72 points-ish will just about get United there. Given the fixtures all the other teams have. And of course, United got a 6-point gap over Spurs now and a 4-point gap over Liverpool. That's pretty significant at this stage of the season.
It is. There's every chance that isn't a 4-point gap over Liverpool by the time you hear this, of course, if they've beaten Swansea, which is not guaranteed, but the form they've been in, you'd expect them to be favourites to do that, wouldn't you? So, okay, should we take some Twitter questions before we look ahead to that Liverpool game?
Let's do it.
Wasim V at Wasim Velji says, best Man United celebration? I think that Rooney one is definitely is in the top 25 now of my lifetime of watching United celebrations. It was a good, solid, well-executed comedy celebration. Of course, the greatest celebration of a United goal that's happened since I've been alive is completely obvious, because it's Eric Cantona after the chip against Sunderland. I mean, just slowly look round the ground going, I'm the greatest.
Turn up the collar, turn round, soak in. Yep. I used to like a Sharpie Shuffle.
Oh, it's wonderful. You can't beat a Sharpie Shuffle unless you're Eric Cantona. I'd have Lee Sharp at number 2. I mean, there's specific goal celebrations like Ollie sliding on his knees in Barcelona.
Yep, and Giggsy going bare chest.
Yes.
Apeshit mental after he scored against Arsenal. Of course, I mean, but they weren't set piece celebrations. They were in the moment, right? And in a way, in the moment is even better. One of the worst I've ever seen is Rooney screaming and shouting at the camera. At least didn't kiss it.
It was quite good, this screaming and shouting at the camera one. I quite enjoyed that. It was Forlan's shirtless celebration that basically I think is single-handedly responsible for the booking for the shirt thing, because he had to start the game with his shirt still not on because he couldn't get his shirt back on. That was pretty good. Yeah. I quite like a Brian Robson one arm raised in the air as well, like kind of a classic simple celebration.
A classic.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I quite like Rooney's crucifix celebration after his crazy overhead kick as well. Especially, I can't remember who it is. It might be Anderson or Nani ruins it by coming in behind him and picking him up. Kind of took the majesty out of the situation somewhat. But yeah. At Kev_CTS says, do you see Daley Blind as a strong option at left back in competition for Shaw, in the short term at least? I mean, definitely not in the long term, because I kind of think Shaw's going to end up having it all, really.
Yeah, I hate to predict Shaw's future after our conversation about Phil Jones just a little while ago. I mean, he's got all the tools in the locker. He's a very good defender and a very good attacker, Shaw, and physically good. Even, people make fun of his size of his arse, but he's not had a good season by any means, interrupted by injury continually and form. So I suppose in the short term, the caveats with Blind are the same.
Are you going to mention his pace by any chance, Ed, at
his
this
pace,
point?
Yes, he's got some pace. Plenty of pace. Loads of pace. Did I not mention that? Which, of course, is Blind's
No,
problem.
sorry, what I was saying was, are you not going to mention Daley Blind's lack of pace? Because you just mentioned Daley Blind. I believe you're contractually obligated to mention his lack of pace at this point, just as I am contractually obligated to mention his lovely hair.
Yeah, indeed. Hair never won anyone a game. And this is Fellaini, because, of course, he's unable to actually jump off the ground, given his massive weight, but his hair is like 6 foot tall. So that's why he's good in the air.
At Eddie Rose 13 says, which museum or gallery would you most like to take Juan Mata to? That is a very, very good question. I'd quite like to take him to the Monet Museum in Paris. I think that would be lovely to see a bit of Impressionism. I bet he'd appreciate that. I wouldn't mind just going to the Natural History Museum and looking at some dinosaurs with him. Basically, any time hanging out with Juan Mata seems like it'd be good.
Yeah, well, one of my favourite museums, this might give away my, cultural heritage, I suppose. I like the De Young Museum in San Francisco. Beautiful museum in a lovely part of San Francisco.
What sort of museum's that for those of us who are not that cultured, Ed?
Modern.
Okay.
I like the Whitney, now currently closed in New York, but opening again soon, and MoMA's not bad either. And I do like Tate Modern as well in London, particularly the Four Seasons room with all the Rothkos. Shall I carry on with my cultural tour here of the world?
I tell you what, the Matisse room in the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, Juan Mata would absolutely love that.
True, and if you like dark, and I'm not sure Juan Mata does, he seems like a happy chappy. You go to the Prado for the Goya collection, but there you go.
I feel like Juan Mata and me would get on museum-wise, and he might find your taste a bit cutting edge. I feel like he's a man who likes the classics, Ed.
Maybe you should send that in as a question for his blog.
Maybe. At John Blaze says, not a question, but could you please criticise Van Gaal, Fellaini, etc. even more? The reverse curse is working. Say, we can't beat Liverpool.
Yeah, well, United hoofed it 17% of the time on Van Gaal's instruction and Fellaini's presence in the team. Only Southampton of the top 7 hoofed it more than United, and that was by a fraction of a percent. And in fact, through the Premier League, only Stoke, no surprise there, and Crystal Palace, and who played Hull and Leicester, did more hoofing across the Premier League this weekend. So there you go. Hoof and bit more hoof.
The thing is, though, right? We had this discussion before we started recording, but my take is that in the first half of that game, I was deliberately counting. I think it would be generous to say that United actually hoofed the ball more than about 3 times. And everything else was like a targeted long pass at a player rather than a hoof into space.
I think this is semantics. United hoofed it 77 times during the game. So long
But it's
ball.
it's not a hoof if you pick a 25-yard pass, is it? That is not a hoof. A hoof, to me, semantically, has a very specific connotation, which is about knocking the ball into space and hoping for the best.
Yeah, again, about semantics.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying, there's a bunch of long balls and United target them at Fellaini. We can keep going on about this. I mean, the fact is that United play, 14 and a bit % long balls which doesn't sound a lot, but actually when the range is between about 18% and about 9% through the Premier League, it is a lot, and it was just over 10% under Moyes. So United playing 50% more long balls than they did last season.
Okay, but how many % more short passes are they playing than they did last season?
No, but this is a percent.
Oh, you mean percentage of the play overall?
Yeah.
But I do think that even though you're absolutely right, that there is a higher percentage of long balls, the sheer number of passes United are making is slightly inflating the impact of that figure. So if you're stylistically...
No, it's not. It's a percentage. I mean, in terms of the total number of long balls, of course, yeah. United playing a lot more passes than last season, loads more short passes as well, but they're playing percentage-wise fewer short passes.
Right, but yes, that is absolutely, in absolute terms, that is inarguable fact what you said. But it's not a particularly...
You're flapping here, Paul. You're flapping. You're struggling.
Not a particularly helpful data point, is it, to say that we're playing in percentage terms, fewer short passes when we're playing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more short passes in total. Like, you can sell this story in 2 very different ways, both of which using words which are kind of mathematically accurate, but are telling a very different story. Anyway, we played a lot of long balls against Tottenham.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. You're playing a lot of long balls because it's part of the strategy, and this is not an accident of rounding.
No,
in a piece of maths, this is a strategy to play a lot of long balls, and that's what United are doing.
But it's a strategy
successfully.
It's a strategy to play a lot of long balls in amongst really a lot of short passes. That's all I'm saying. Because that's true as well. Like, it's equally true to say we are playing loads more short passes than we did same time last season, right?
No. I'm afraid you're conflating two.
No, I'm not. I just said something that's as true as what you said. Yeah, of course I do. But what I'm saying is what I just said is as true as what you just said. We are playing far more short passes than we did last season. Like, in terms of the total number of passes. That's as true as saying we're playing, percentage-wise, way more long balls, which is also true.
Yes, it is, but less relevant when you talk about totals.
See, and I think that the percentages are also less relevant given the total number of passes, because a bigger percent of a bigger number has a lesser overall impact on something. Anyway.
No.
Welcome to Mathcast.
Yeah, well, it's only half a Mathcast. Because you're struggling with this. You weren't a mathematician, were you?
I don't think I'm struggling with this, actually, at all. I think I'm making a slightly different point.
You've gone a bit squeaky, though, mate.
That's fine. Yeah, just don't listen to the argument. Just attack the style. That's classic.
Well, I am attacking the style, and it's Louis van Gaal's hoof philoshoofy. Louis van Hoof's philoshoofy.
So what do you account the vastly increased numbers of short passes to if our style has been to switch to hoofball?
Passing it sideways. So grinding the opposition down, playing loads of sideways passes. Actually, if you look at Fellaini's passes, they're sideways short, 10 yards out to the left. So, yeah, do a lot of passing back and forth. But it's not that And again, a conversation we had last week, it's not that kind of penetrative two-paced system where lots of passes are about shifting the opposition around.
Although, funnily enough, it really was against Tottenham.
And it worked against Tottenham. It worked against Tottenham.
Loads more verticality, as they say.
Well, it certainly was vertical when it came to the passing, which was very vertical. Came down with snow on it.
See, as soon as I said the word vertical, I knew where you were going to go with that. Listen, I'm not saying we're not playing a lot of long balls. I'm just saying we are using it as part of an overall picture. We have not turned into Wimbledon.
No, that's fair enough. No one has said that. You're just being a bit defensive about the love of your life, which is Louis van Hoof.
No, one matter is the love of my life. Louis van Gaal's just a guy I like. At Liz Worsley says, have you ever been caught on camera doing anything you shouldn't have? #Rancast, #boxing. I don't think so, no. Nowadays I live a pretty blameless life. I'm trying to think if I ever got caught on camera doing stuff. Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to talk about that. There was nothing that would, if I ever became a celebrity, it would attain notoriety on the internet. It was nothing like that. Just,
Yeah, so there was a while that there was a video of me on YouTube, and no longer there. Drinking a cocktail which was made of 7 shots, which involved me drinking said cocktail, which was on fire at the time. Going, no, this is all right, and then passing out and hitting the bar quite hard, which was extremely amusing. And of course, this was a few years back, so it's kind of before the instant Vine Twitter paradigm that we have now, and I wouldn't have been able to delete it and it never be seen again.
I've seen that video, it's brilliant. I'm so glad you reminded me of its existence. It's the look on your face when it transitions from, oh yeah, this is no problem at all, to I've just passed out. It's good. At Dave Webb 101 says, how come Phil Neville stopped using his highlighting room as soon as you mentioned it on the rant? Firstly, because he's renting it out to Angel Di Maria, but secondly, because I think Andreas Pereira might have stolen it.
Yes, yeah. Andreas Pereira, who's a very late substitute appearance, he touched the ball once, might well be the only time he ever plays in a United shirt, out of contract at the end of the season, of course.
How much do you know about him? Because I'm not brilliantly informed on the youth teams at United. I heard his name a lot for a while and then less for a bit, and then it started doing the rounds again, as it seemed like maybe some agent talk or something started linking him with clubs and stuff.
There is some agent talk. Every time I've seen him previously the academy and over the last couple of seasons the under-21 side, I kind of get the same impression of him. He's very, very good on the ball. He's got lovely feet, wonderful technique, and there's loads and loads of potential. Now, the more mundane side of his game isn't as developed, so he's not that great defensively. He's not a player who's going to work really hard in the centre of midfield, but that's kind of, beside the by. He's not going to be that kind of player. When he matures, he's going to be a number 10 or a creative player. But I think there are plenty of question marks. I don't think it's obvious. It's not obvious to me, anyway, in the way that it was obvious about Paul Pogba, that Pereira will make it to the very top. He might do. He's got loads of talent. I think he might have to apply himself just a little bit more.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer with him. At Nye Beveridge says, and I think this is an interesting question, is it fair to say that even the best teams need a Fellaini, in inverted commas, so to speak, or are you not convinced of his worth? And I think it depends what you mean by that. I think one of my big problems with Fellaini is he's not a very good Fellaini, if you know what I mean. Like he's certainly not a good destroyer in the centre of midfield. Definitely not. And people who said he might be our Yaya Toure have been proven dramatically wrong. Not that Yaya Toure is somehow only a destroyer in the centre of midfield, but Fellaini is kind of I don't know. He's pretty snide, and he does a lot of physical damage with his elbows, but he doesn't get stuck into tackles and knock players off their rhythm in that sense. He's a very, very useful battering ram up front. That's what he does best, as far as I'm concerned. And I think every good team needs a solid destroyer in the centre of midfield. Maybe not every team nowadays, but once upon a time that was true. I guess Barcelona reset the paradigm of that a bit, didn't they? But yeah, I mean, there is an argument for a Fellaini. I just don't think he's a very good Fellaini.
Yeah, he's not that player at all. So I think there's just no point talking about him as some kind of destroyer. He's just not very good at that. He does one thing only, and that's put it about a bit in the final third. The fact that we were so surprised that he managed to burst past a defender and score with his left foot kind of shows, the fact that he just doesn't do that very often. The truth is that you get it indirect in and about the box and he's going to cause some damage. And that's it, right? He's not a defensive midfielder. He's not even a Busquets because the quality on the ball is far inferior. Busquets, by the way, he was, one of the outstanding central sort of defensive midfielders of the past generation, just kind of spoilt by his theatrics and all-round nasty persona.
Absolutely. Anderesque says, what do you think of all this knee-jerking with 10 games to go? I think to a certain extent it was very understandable that there would be a massive positive knee-jerk reaction to that Tottenham game, because it's the first time that we've played well for such a sustained period for a really long time, and we absolutely battered them off the pitch. So that's very exciting when it happens. I think actually most of the coverage and fan reaction I've seen has been quite moderated. It's been a kind of, well, we've all seen the whole season, so I don't think any of us are really expecting us to be brilliant every game between now and the end of the season, right?
Right, yeah. So, absolutely. So, great first half against Tottenham, came off the back of an absolutely dreadful second half against Arsenal. It puts some context. Yeah, see my tweet to you and Simon Stevens earlier today. Even if I did get the film wrong.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. A schoolboy, Ed.
Really was.
Yeah. At Jack K. Hot says, to honour the Old Trafford pigeon, what's your favourite animal? It's a pigeon that's been flying around Old Trafford. The caddy's pointing out on Twitter that the pigeon arrived yesterday and left, presumably thinking he was in the wrong place because there was a team playing really well there.
Yeah, well, he was probably just terrified that United were going to hoof it at him.
I got too many favourite animals to mention. Like, a horse is a great animal, and it's majestic, it's fast, it's awesome.
Makes a tasty burger as well.
It's disgraceful. And how you can't beat dogs, right? Man's best friend.
Also makes a tasty burger. No.
You're a terrible person.
I've never eaten dog. Yeah, I did have a look for it. It wasn't actually on any menus. I've been to Seoul a few times actually. I've never found it. I think it may be a myth.
Yeah, that's the thing. It sort of sums up the difference between our approaches in life, really, in a way, doesn't it? It's like when you hear favourite animal, you're like, what's my favourite animal to eat? No,
it's not true. No. I like wearing them as well.
Okay. Lions are good, aren't they? Elephants. They're my favourite animal. Can't beat an elephant, can you?
Very good.
Oh, probably can't make burgers out of them either.
Bit tough.
Yeah. Talking of bit tough, we've got to go to Liverpool, who are in good form, as far as I know, because they might have lost their last match because they're playing it. They're half an hour in. Do you know what the score is?
0-0 as we speak. Liverpool are in decent form, apart from that one. They've had some half decent results in recent times. They went on this wonderful run, didn't they? Sort of post Christmas, which has got them back into contention, because for a long time they were very, very mid-table.
Yeah, but they're not anymore, are they? They're playing pretty electrifying football, and it's very much come since Steven Gerrard's been unceremoniously booted out of the lineup. Which
shame, because I reckon that Juan Mata might outdo him physically these days. It's the defenestration of Steven Gerrard has been quite fun, although it may be anticlimactic because we might not see him too much until the end of the season. Let's just hope he doesn't win the FA Cup or something awful like that.
Their results, not counting cup games, has gone win, draw, win, draw. That's a cup game. So end on the win. They've been in spectacular form in the league.
Yeah, well, 8 wins in their last 10 league games. So, yeah, completely. And, of course, beat City recently.
Yeah, although
which has made it super tight.
That's slightly less scary given the context, isn't it? Because when you see that, you think, oh, they've even beaten City at home. That's really a serious thing. But basically everyone's beaten City this season now. They're falling apart at the seams, aren't they? Yeah,
indeed. They've found a system that works for them, Liverpool. They switched to 3 at the back, and it seems to have been very positive in a way that very few people would say it was positive for United. And they've got a ball player at the back in Emre Can or Chan or Yan, depending on who you believe about his pronunciation of his name. But it's worked for them. They're keeping the ball. They dominate possession in a way that you kind of expect of a Brendan Rodgers side, but it wasn't happening earlier in the season, and they're making chances and scoring goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Coutinho's been in good form, right? This is what I hear. I haven't seen a lot of full Liverpool games over the last period of time.
Yeah, they've got a good axis in midfield in Allen and Henderson when Allen plays, and Lallana kind of plays off the left, and Coutinho's the creative force, and Sturridge is back, and that helps them be a bit more dynamic than they were without him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do you see the pattern of play going in this one? Do you think we'll play one up front against their three centre-backs? It'd be kind of an interesting match, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. And, so the reason why you might do that is that you try and get more of the ball in central midfield, right? But Liverpool will effectively have three in there, and Allen and Henderson and Coutinho. And it just kind of depends on whether that gives Coutinho the freedom to push on and pressure Michael Carrick or not. So, the best way to counter three at the back, of course, is to push a couple of wide guys right onto the touchline, which would tell me that Di Maria might have a chance of playing, because, of course, he can do that. Not that his best performances have necessarily been as a winger, but he can certainly get into those positions. But United did it very effectively against Tottenham in a different system, of course, but definitely used width well.
It's kind of interesting because the system we used at Tottenham could really overwhelm a side playing three at the back, because we basically, between the full-back, the central attacking midfielders who were on either side, and the actual wide forwards, that is a heck of an overload into a position potentially against one man, isn't it? So there's going to be an awful lot of players drawn out of position, and then the people on the other side can cut in. You can see those being some extremely effective triangles, but there will be a lot of space left in behind there. And as you say, the pressure on Michael Carrick, and if Rojo's not fit, then if Jones is playing again, he's been so shaky, you can definitely see them getting at us too. I find this game very, very difficult to predict. That Tottenham game has really thrown the kind of expectations around this game. For me, I kind of had a pretty set pattern of how we play and how they'd play, and I was a bit worried about it, and I am a bit less worried about it now. Do you think he'll stick with 4-3-3?
Yeah, I kind of. It's hard for him to change that. Now, there's an opportunity for United to, if they play the right players in those wide positions, to really put some pressure and to create those overloads. And again, it kind of depends on who Liverpool play in those wide areas. So if it's like Sterling and Moreno, then you'd think you could get behind them, because they both want to push on, and there will be opportunities, and it could create quite an open game. On the other hand, if they kind of switch it around, they push Henderson out there at times this season, if they try and keep it a bit tighter, then United will effectively be wasting one striker against a whole bunch of defenders, and it will allow Emre Can to push into midfield and create an extra midfielder, and it could mean that Liverpool have a lot of the ball as a result. So a difficult one to predict, and I guess the pattern might be set quite early, and whoever is smart enough in game will make the big decision that wins someone the game. Yeah, absolutely. It could be. It's a game where you've got two systems that can work very well against each other potentially. So it's all going to be about execution, isn't it? And our execution has been wildly swinging from the sublime to the ridiculous and back again this season. So I don't know, it's hard to get too giddy and expect us to waltz into Anfield and play brilliant football, because the pressure of the occasion is going to be significantly different. And of course, there's the fact that we still haven't really put together a particularly impressive away performance. I guess the performance at Newcastle counts as one of our best away performances, and that was a scrappy 1-0 win against a genuinely mid-table side, as opposed to, so it is hard to be super optimistic. But that'll be it, all right? I do not expect United to go to Anfield, take 60% of possession and win 3-0. There's nothing in the history of this season that tells us that is likely, especially away from home. Maybe it's the time, but I'd be really, really surprised. So I think it'll be a pretty difficult game. I wonder whether Van Gaal will be worried about Liverpool's ability to sort of overload in that midfield, and might want an extra defensive player in there, playing just the two centre-backs, and Michael Carrick holding might be a bit tough for him, so maybe he'll move Blint back into midfield. Depends on whether Shaw's fit or not. That might be one change he makes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fascinated. I'm slightly terrified, as always. I'm in the minority that
really hate this fixture and what it brings out. So I'll be keeping a low profile around this one, trying to avoid the people that seeing the people I normally like turning into raving lunatics. But hey, that's the tribalism of football, and some people get a lot out of that, I guess. Including you, right, Ed? You're a big fan of this fixture.
I am a big fan of this fixture. Yeah, this is what football's all about, and I will not be scouse baiting whatsoever in the lead up to it. Honest.
Of course not. So what is your prediction for the score in this football match between us and Liverpool?
Well, last week I predicted a 1-1 draw, and I was nowhere near right. So this week I'm going to predict. Let's go with the heart over the head and say a 1-0 win to United.
I'm going with the head over the heart, sadly, and I think Liverpool are going to win this. I think they're going to win it 2-1. I'm sad about that, but that's what I think is going to happen. If it does happen, that's quite serious. Losing this game will be quite serious for the season, won't it? It has big implications, this game. And actually, I think a draw is a very decent result. I don't know if I've got my maths right there. What do you think, Ed?
Well, of course, United ended the weekend 4 points ahead of Liverpool, but Liverpool playing Swansea, we'll see where we are. So I suppose a win for Liverpool, in theory, depending on results, could take them above United. Well, it would seem so. And that not a disaster with 9 games to go, but not a great result either. Conversely, I think a draw for United is a great result, given the lead that United has at the moment, and Liverpool's form. That would be perfect. We shouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, so a massive, crucial game, clearly, and a draw, a very good result for United. And a win would be a spectacular result for United. We're starting to talk about feeling potentially comfortable, because then even if we lose to Chelsea and City, it's going to might not be totally disastrous. And I'm not sure we will lose to Chelsea and City. We've got Tim Sherwood's Villa to be scared of before then. The resurgent Tim Sherwood's Aston Villa. Well,
yeah, they are resurgent. They're at least 3 points clear of the relegation zone. So.
And he got Poyet sacked, so as a contribution to football for everyone.
Very good, yes.
Racist apologist Gus Poyet,
rumours going around that they were thinking about appointing racist apologist Dick Advocaat instead.
It's not a good look, is it? Apparently Roy Keane was at the game. Give him the job back. I want Roy Keane managing in the Premier League. So if you want to take us to task on anything you've heard on the show this week, you can get Ed on Twitter at United Rant. You can get me at UTD Rantcast. Get us both at facebook.com/United Rant, where a few more people have been getting involved. Always happy to chat with people there. And you can read what Ed has to write on United Rant and read my stuff if you would like to on the Bleacher Report. And what'd be super helpful for us is if you use iTunes or some sort of podcast software, and if you listen to us on your phone, basically, just subscribe on whatever service you use. It's dead easy, and the Rantcast will always turn up on your phone when it comes out, whenever that might be.
Especially as we're not regular.
Yeah, we've tried, but it's been impossible this season. Massive shout out to producer Tom for all his hard work on the podcast. It's always much appreciated. And if you want to contribute to producer Tom's retirement fund, you can do so at unitedrant.co.uk/donate.
/ his bender fund, after he went on a 4-day bender before editing the last podcast. Apparently, so he says. Very good job, even so.
Yeah, absolutely. So unitedrant.co.uk/donate to keep us in the style to which we've been accustomed. If we relied on that to keep us in this, it wouldn't be much style, but we really super appreciate everyone that's helped out with that. It's very kind of you. And we'll be back at some point in the future, we promise.
See you then.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
The Omaha Steaks end-of-season sale is here to deliver everything you crave to reset after the holidays. From handcrafted USDA-certified tender steaks to gourmet burgers, versatile chicken and pork, and more. You know exactly what you're getting. Premium lean protein that everyone loves. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their end-of-season sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code AUDIO at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details.